Welcome back to New Rockstars. I'm Erik Voss, and this is a no-spoiler review of Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. I was lucky this time to get invited to the film's LA premiere last night. I learned my eyes and skin do not comply with natural light outside of the Blue Dungeon, and I spent the screening scribbling so many notes for the breakdown that my thumb is still blue with ink. So as I walked out of the theater, I was still processing and couldn't really put my thoughts into words. Now, we do not normally review movies here on New Rockstars, honestly, because I think most people don't need my advice on whether or not to see a movie, and I think there are just so many more interesting things to say about a film beyond a numerical score. But with all the interesting hot takes coming about this film, I think it helps to go into it with a healthy mindset. Now again, no spoilers in this review, and my friends tread carefully down there in the comments and on social media until you see the movie. So some general thoughts. Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness delivers on the promise of the MCU's first true horror film, with director Sam Raimi bleeding his signature horror into every frame. It is the MCU's most violent film by a long shot. The body count is high and you feel every fatality, which is something I have always felt the MCU could use some more of. But the squeamish among you can relax. While Raimi has earned his reputation as a master of horror cinema, his approach to the genre always comes with a smirk. Whether it's the violent delights of Bruce Campbell's Ash in the Evil Dead series, the schadenfreude of wanting the damned in Drag Me to Hell to get dragged to hell, or even the sudden jump scares in his Spider-Man films. The MCU is, after all, live-action toys smacking into each other, and it's okay for them to have to spit out some blood every now and then. Multiverse of Madness' strengths come from the extent to which they allow Sam Raimi to actually evolve the aesthetics. Raimi and his cinematographer John Matheson let the camera glide, bend, distort, and superimpose in ways you have never seen after the Marvel Studios fanfare, evoking something closer to the surrealist montages of Rosemary's Baby. Danny Elfman's score surrounds us and binds us with madcap evil. That said, the film also totally works as a Marvel Studios event. Whatever you may have seen or theorized or speculated over, the Marvel tie-ins and surprises will have you pinching yourself and screaming, yes! While the nerd sitting next to you scribbling a notepad tells you to shut up. Personally, I was equally thrilled with the theories we got right as I was with the stuff that went in a very different direction. Marvel's producers proved once again that they have a more nuanced approach to how far to go with the fan service. Hats off to that forever hatted Mr. Feige. Screenwriter Michael Waldron brought his multiverse world-building expertise from Loki on Disney Plus, as well as on Rick and Morty, and on every level, he hides subtle winks that make the future of the MCU multiverse as bright as it is brutal. The script also widens the MCU lexicon with a glossary of terms and dream-redefining concepts that, for me, have always been the most crucial contribution of Doctor Strange to this whole universe. The rules are set up in the first act, and then in the climax, flourish with demonic delight. Like all MCU films at this point, Multiverse of Madness certainly rewards having done the homework. If you have time, maybe review WandaVision and the 2016 Doctor Strange film, as well as the animated What If series, and to my surprise, Avengers Infinity War. In fact, without going into more detail, I would say Infinity War might be the most important MCU film to watch before this movie. But this is all truly the climax to WandaVision. Most of us went into WandaVision framing it as a prelude series for Multiverse of Madness, and despite Doctor Strange saying in trailers that he's not here to talk about Westview, this movie is very much about what went down in Westview, and it is at its creepiest and most heartbreaking when it dives back into that hex. Which brings me to what I wanted to see more of in this movie. Oh my god, New Rockstars thinks an MCU movie wasn't perfect? Cancel this man! Now, breaking these things down is the skill that the gods have called me to do, but do you have a specific skill that you are trying to learn? Maybe it's even one that could help your career, like graphic design or learning how to write a business plan. Well, Skillshare, the sponsor of this video, can help you invest in yourself and your personal growth in 2022. Skillshare is an online learning community with thousands of inspiring classes for anyone who loves learning and wants to explore their creativity and learn new skills. From photography and illustration to gardening, freelancing, and more, you can find classes that will match your goals and interests. They've got a deep roster of classes on animation, design, and photography, so you can transition from just enjoying other people's content to making your own. Skillshare is ad-free, and new premium classes are launched each week. The entire catalog is now available with subtitles in Spanish, French, Portuguese, and German. The first 1,000 of my subscribers to click the link in the description or use my code NEWROCKSTARS will get a 1-month 1-month free trial of Skillshare, so you can start exploring your creativity today. Now, on to some stuff that I wish we saw more of in Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. Maybe it's the place WandaVision now occupies in our hearts, but Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness might have been better framed as the Scarlet Witch in the Multiverse of Madness. Because Elizabeth Olsen's Wanda Maximoff is the broken heart driving this film. And as we do with Mia Farrow and Rosemary's Baby, or even Elphaba and Wicked, I connected far more with her than I did with Doctor Strange's relationship with Christine Palmer, or with his variants, or with America Chavez. I cannot wait to see Xochitl Gomez more in the MCU, especially when she's out from under Strange's wing, but as written in this story, the character often comes off as more of a plot function than a patient the MCU's chief surgeon feels an emotional drive to save. Maybe it's just the next day and I'm still overwhelmed by all the other masters this movie serves. Maybe I'll feel differently when I rewatch it, but at this moment I just feel like I never wondered what the emotional stakes for Strange were in the 2016 film, or even in the best episode from What If, episode 4, but in this movie, things did feel, at times, a bit disjointed. With any movie, we always ask ourselves, what is the core dramatic relationship of this film? In this case, is it about Strange and Christine? Is it about Strange in America? Is it about Strange and Wanda? Is it about Strange and his other Stranges? Strange in the multiverse? At different parts of the movie, the answer to that question changes. You may also see some griping about the way this story treats Wanda as a cold-hearted villain, arguably unaffected by her experiences with Vision and WandaVision, but I would say WandaVision's post-credit scene already made that sudden dark turn. Every MCU title has to choose which parts of a character's backstory to suddenly make important for them in the next chapter, and I just can't wait to see the flashback scene in a title like Agatha House of Harkness, showing the heartbreaking chapter in which Wanda, alone in her cabin, suddenly decides, like all humans sometimes do, that our own needs supersede everything else in our world. Folks, this whole MCU, love it or hate it, is characterization across titles and across media distribution formats. And if we can forgive Tony Stark for, in the same movie, going from feeling so much guilt over getting a kid killed to binding his whole team to legislative oversight, to, in the second act, endangering a child, all to make Civil War cooler, we can certainly forgive Wanda for not embracing the quote, "What is grief if not love persevering," as her mantra, as much as we inked it as our pandemic tattoos. And now, equally worthy of our consideration is this film's questions, like how do we fill the holes in our hearts? Is happiness truly the highest pursuit? Now, with everything in this movie, your mileage may vary, which is also the case when it comes to whether Multiverse of Madness is too intense for you. I will say that it is safely PG-13 and no more violent than episodes of What If were. I mean, that show did repeatedly slaughter Tony Stark and popped Hulk. So, you do you. My final thoughts, Multiverse of Madness was not the film I expected, and I love it for that. I was shocked at how much Marvel Studios would unleash Sam Raimi to wreak his madness on the MCU toy box. It is a bold, vicious thriller with images that will haunt me forever. No numerical score from me, I'm sorry. It's just too early for me to cement this movie's legacy just to give haters or stans ammo to scream at each other. There's plenty of other real movie critics for that. But I hope you enjoyed Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness as much as I did, and once you see it, send me your thoughts. Follow me on Twitter and Instagram at EA Voss, following the Rockstars, subscribing to Rockstars for more analysis of everything you love. Thanks for watching, bye.